Alliances are starting to form, rivalries continue to unfold as the drivers start to back one another in a Captain America Civil War style fight for the title as it rolls on to Saudi Arabia. Hello everyone and welcome to round 10 of Neo Racing League. Like I said, we're in Saudi Arabia, the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit, the second longest circuit on the calendar for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. 27 corners make up the 3.8 mile circuit, with 16 to the left and 11 to the right. With 3 DRS zones making up a lap of the streets of Jeddah. The circuit joined the F1 calendar for the 2021 season as the penultimate round of the season, where we saw one of the most controversial moments of that season in one of probably the best seasons of all time. Since then, it has remained on the calendar, and we've seen 3 different winners across the 4 years we've been here. Max Verstappen being the only multi-time race winner. In Neo, we have raced here on 2 separate occasions. We have first raced here back in Season 2 with Gamba taking victory here, and then again, last season where the inaugural champion Rhombus took the win. But with neither racing here tonight, it could get spicy. I'm your commentator, James Jackson, and tonight I'm joined by a man who some say is a robot and has the capability to look through the back of his head. All we know is he's called apfstig. How are you doing, my friend? Yeah, oh, good. I'm good. We're going to get into a bit, or while we're going through this first session, while everything's getting sorted out, we'll just quickly go through what is needed to be known. Last race, we actually had a sprint race in Bahrain, where we saw Shoot Fizzle take victory in that sprint race ahead of JPS by just under 4/10 of a second. Speed Queen in third, with Rupsi Cola in fourth. TTV Yes in P5 rounding out the points paying positions, with Hamflop Kelly, Marchmeister, Quek Melly, Funny Wayban and Vekuli rounding out that top 10. This then leaves us with the race result hit after Bahrain. A couple of penalties applied later as well. So we have Shoot Fizzle, who remains on top with Speed Queen in second place. Was trying to hunt defend that lead, but the Aston Martin got through eventually. Rubsicola rounded himself out on the podium with Marchmeister in 4th, JPS in P5, Soda in 6th, Quek Melly in 7th, TTV Yes in 8th, Vekuli in 9th, with Mark Baller rounding out the top 10, but as a retirement, so not scoring any points. This leaves us with Shoot Fizzle leading the way ahead of Speed Queen by with 124 points ahead of him with 92 points for Speed Queen. Gary 5 points behind them in 3rd. Rubsicola in 4th, JPS 5th, Vekuli 6th, Marchmeister 7th, this guy Neo 8th, Handflap Kelly 9th, and Soda in 10th. This will then lead us to Constructors with Aston Martin with a 51-point lead over Mercedes. 10 points further back is Sauber in 3rd, Williams in 4th, 1 point behind them, Haas, then Red Bull in 6th, RB in 7th, Alpine in 8th, joint with McLaren, who are in 9th on countback, and then Ferrari at the bottom of the Constructors table. With that in mind, things are starting to come to the back end of the season, Stig. In this situation, we've got 5 rounds to go. What if you're leading the championship, or if you're like hunting for the championship, does the mindset stay the same, or does it change slightly? Do you know why? Because this isn't connected properly. Hold on 1 second. Let me just quickly jump back in.
He's just sent me an amazing GIF as well. It's great.
There you go. So it is working now. Hello, Stig. You can be heard now.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm under the lights of Saudi Arabia tonight. You were in full flow then, so I didn't want to interrupt you. But yes. What were you asking? What was your question?
So, if you're the championship leader or the person chasing for the championship, does your mindset change around the latter part of the season, where you can win a title, where you are certainly going down into the last couple of races with a title on your mind? Does your mindset change, or does it kind of remain the same as it has been for the first number of races in the season?
I mean, it's got to be the same. Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure and added pressure, but at the end of the day, you still got to push as much as you can and solidify the results. Obviously, points become a bit more valuable as every point is worth a lot more in the championship, especially with less races to go. But it's all about capitalizing on your rivals and choosing your battles. There's no point battling someone that is nowhere near you in the fight. Or, for example, if we had Gary versus, I don't know, Neo, there's no point Gary fighting Neo as such if it's for the lead, because Gary could overpush his car, overpush his tires just for an extra position. But actually, we've got Shoot Fizzle, who's actually retired from the race, so he doesn't need to make that position, for example. So it is about choosing your battles, but at the same time, you're maximising points.
Yes, certainly. We have now got everyone kind of in the pit lane at this point in the session. We've got Rubsicola, who has the fastest time, with Fanny Wayban in 2nd, David in 3rd, Burry in 4th, Quek Melly in 5th, Soda in 6th, this guy Neo 7th, Speed Queen 8th, Gary 9th, Joseph 10th, and Shoot Fizzle and Handflap Kelly 11th and 12th. JPS 13th, JPS Ali and JPS and Ali have tied from the session. Vekuli with a quali ban, so we're just waiting on Marchmeister to set a time realistically, because everyone else will be going through, because apart from the 3 who have already retired, unless they retired in the pits, then they will be going through anyway. We've got a little bit of waiting now. A couple of drivers out on track going around for their out laps, most notably Rubsicola, who is our current P1 driver. We have no names on them, so that's nice that that's working.
I mean, it's worth all of these drivers now retiring from the session, because we've had 3 retirements, so everyone else is through.
Yeah.
So even Marchmeister, who hasn't actually retired from the session yet, I believe would be through because he's not retired yet. So it's probably worth with these drivers just coming back into the pits, retiring, and then head out into Q2. Because the three drivers, JPS, Ali, and Vikuli, have all decided they're going to retire early.
Yeah, I mean, Bekuli has a quali ban, so at the end of the day, it's just March that needs to go make a set of time, so then we can actually get into the Q2 session. So we've just got a little bit of waiting to do, but I'm very surprised that the drivers who have gone out on track are going again, because at the moment it does not help them, because at the end of the day it doesn't benefit them. Yeah, you're going out doing lap after lap, but you could end up in a wall. It's not like a Q2 session where you're actually fighting for positions. It's not like a practice session where you're just using this as an opportunity to practice. You bear in mind, Rupsicola's on the intermediates, so it does not benefit him at all being out there right now.
No, you're not really learning anything either, because that compound is really not going to help you in the next qualifying session. So there's no track acclimatization happening as such, and the grip's going to be all different. So it's just taking unnecessary risks at this point.
Yeah, so it isn't the worth it, especially when you're in Rupsicola's position in the championship, where you still have a mathematical chance to close in on that title. And if you were to get have the pace to go get pole position today, beat Shoot Fizzle when they struggle, it isn't worth this risk now, which could send you right down to the bottom half of the grid. We see the Williams go into the pit lane, so you just have a couple drivers else out on the circuit. This guy Neo being one of them, currently on soft tyres, but 3 temps down in sector 2. I believe we're also waiting for drivers to join the session as well, maybe, so that might be why.
Fair enough.
So we are just so that might be why we are leaving it to the last minute. If you're a March, though, you'll be wanting to get out and get a lap done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we've only got 3.5 minutes left in the session now, so
yeah.
March could really do with going. I think it looks like there's movement in the Haas garage, so it looks like he's gone out on track now.
What I've noticed as well is that this guy Neo has a little bit of front wing damage as he came into the pit lane, so it that doesn't bode well for the Mercedes, considering that you're doing that in a session where you're already through. So you've got to be careful not to do that when it comes to the actual qualifying session that is coming, the actual Q2 and Q3 session, which is coming up in just moments' time. We're seeing a number of drivers starting to retire now, but March is going to be the one who actually needs to get through here, because yeah, they need to get a lap.
Bogeyman
And Bogeyman, so both of them need to set a decent lap time, because it looks like Ali is going to be out this session because Bogeyman has actually made the has joined the session. So that means that Ali's now in trouble here all of a sudden, because as soon as if March or Bogeyman get a lap in, then that Alpine's out. That is quite a disaster for Ali there.
Yeah, if I was these drivers, I wouldn't have retired that early. I'd have put a lap in and then retired. Yeah,
I think that's what they were told to do anyway, to put a lap in anyway. But here we are. We got to watch on with Marchmeister, who will be going around to set a probably relatively decent lap just to get the feel of the car, but you don't want to push it too hard, because you don't want to end up in the barriers. We've seen that in previous races where we've been like this. We've got to set a lap in the Q1 session, and then it's ultimately screwed things up. But luckily, I don't think we're going to have that issue here, because Fekuli is out anyway. So, the only driver with a quali ban. So, March just needs to get a decent lap in to be, or a lap in that is valid to be through. So, if I'm March, you just need to take it very slowly, even if you do like a 2-minute 5.
You say this about the about damaging the car, etc. But if they fully crash out, take the wheel off, they will be out of the session then. They will not be in Q2. So it is worth, in this situation, Marchmeister knows he's pretty much through. It's just a case of put a lap in. Like Kalisto just said, can be a 2-minute 5. But he's just done a purple sector 1, supposedly. But there's no point overly pushing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got them and Bogeyman, who is currently on the lap. We got a couple other drivers who've gone out again. Ropsy going out, Soda's gone out, so they are looking to try and actually get proper laps in, which is quite surprising. You'd risk it at this stage. Yes, it might be an extra lap of practice that will help you at the end, but it doesn't benefit in the long term if you crash. If you
wasting tyres as well.
Wasting tyres, absolutely.
Take the McLaren Soda. He's just gone out on soft tyres. I don't know if they're new or used, but it's just not really worth it, to be honest.
Yeah, and luckily for Roots, they've gone out on the intermediates, so it isn't like they're wasting a set of soft tyres here. But they could end up.
No, that was a set of softs. So there was a soft and then inters that Roots Cola did.
Well, they're on inters again now, so either way. Like, a lot of drivers have done their times on softs, but they can use those tyres again in Q2.
I see what you mean. Yes,
but he's currently not burning them up at this stage. So yeah, it's more of a risk to go out on his inters, particularly in a Middle Eastern circuit. So it is very much a danger to be going out on this on a dry circuit, because you could end up just bin it in a wall. The back end will become quite loose. However, it is not the end of the world if you could get around a lap. Soda 19.1 to end the session, goes fastest, but we'll have to see whether that is true pace compared to the rest of the field in Q2. March has got through. We're just now waiting on one other Alpine to go through, who's already got full front wing damage. So that is not what you'll be doing. If you're the Alpine, you're very lucky to get away with that, but they are on the intermediates, so they're very lucky not to take off a wheel, though.
It does show the dangers of going out there on the inters. There is a significantly less grip, and you do need to be a little bit more careful, because there is not the grip that you think it will have. So,
with that meaning they are through, Ali and Vekuli. Well, Vekuli is already on a quali ban, so they weren't going to do a lap, but Ali will not advance to the second session, which is frustrating for the Alpine. They didn't even get a chance to go for a lap, but everyone else will remain through. I do believe JPS retired in the pit lane, so it didn't matter too much to the Mercedes. But the rest,
I believe all three retired in the pit lane.
Well, Ali's out anyway because he's 16th, so
yes,
elimination zone. Yeah, Ali's out of the session, so JPS will be going through with the rest of the field, but the Alpine basically having to take a quali ban of their own, really. So, with that session over, we are now going to go into the actual qualifying session. Just to remind you all that we have the Shufis all leading away in the standings. Speed Queen P2, Gary 3rd, Rubsy Cola 4th, JPS 5th, Vekuli 6th, Marsh 7th, this guy Neo in 8th, and Black Kelly 9th, and Soda in 10th. The points gaps are growing, but we could end up with the top two either being extended or closed tonight. We have people siding with other the drivers now. They want to make help towards the title. Black Kelly obviously trying to help Shoot. Gary does not think they can match Shoot or Speed Queen, so wants to eventually move to that Red Bull seat when the transfer window's open. I think next week or the week after, and move that Red Bull just to become Speed Queen's teammate and help them as well. Interesting tactics, really, in my opinion, because you're now starting to see drivers back each other and want to help each other out, so someone else doesn't get the title. It's quite an irregular thing to see in league racing, if I'm not mistaken, outside of teammates.
I'll be honest, it's a regular thing to see in league racing and in real life. We've seen it happen. I mean, me and Calisto have seen it a lot in the past in our league racing. And you do try and, when you're in this position, you do try and build up your allies, because they are going to help you on track at the end of the day. They are also your rivals, so you kind of want them on your side. If they know that you're the only 2 or 3 that can make the championship, they can help you out quite significantly.
But with that in mind, even though Gary's only 5 points off Speed Queen and feels like that they cannot get this title against Shoot via that gap, but feels Speedquink can do it though with and he's looking to help them. If you're the likes of Ripsy Cola, if you're not siding with either, and the other two start to have issues throughout their races with people siding with the other, trying to cause a bit of chaos. If you're Ripsy Cola, you're gonna have a little bit of an easier time with things because people aren't going to race you as hard because they're not as focused on you, and you could easily pick off points. And you're not exactly far off on the championship hunt either, especially if there's anything that goes wrong for that top two.
This is kind of what I alluded to at the start of the stream. But you've just added on that to say, an outlier could effectively find their way into a position, which you are right. It can happen. You can forget about other drivers out there. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a couple drivers out on track. Ripsy Cola decided to do another lap on Inters and then come into the pits. So we have Shoot Fizzle, our championship leader, who is going to start a flying lap. Stig, would you like to take us through this one?
If I can get onto the right screen. Shoot Fizzle's actually giving his teammate a little bit of a tow here to help him through this session. They've fallen back a little bit now. It kind of looks like going a bit slow through there, I'll be honest. It doesn't look like Shoot's overly pushing. Might be saving a bit of pace for later on in the session, going hard at it in Q3. Riding the curve quite nicely there. You don't want to go over too much because otherwise you get the skid plate on the ground and you'll just ride wide into the runoff area. Supposed purple sector there. Down into fourth gear now. Got to hold and wait for those revs and then run the car out a little bit wide, close up to the wall to try and maximize speed around the corner. One thing you've got to remember with this track is you've got to use the curbs. You've got to use as much of the track as possible because it makes so much of a difference. Obviously, the walls were pushed back a couple of years ago to try and make it a little bit better for visibility, but that's just made opportunity for these drivers. Coming up around sector 2 now, coming up into the bridge section, it's a really nice turn in there. Not going too close to the wall because you didn't want to take unnecessary risks. Flat out towards the end of sector 3 now and coming up to the last corner, just using up the rest of the ERS that Shoot was saved across the lap. A late turn in, that wasn't the best line through there, but it's going to be a good banker lap regardless. Flat out now, down to the line, keeping it close, minimizing the line up to the line, and that's a 129.4, respectable.
Fan Kelly's teammate has just gone by for P3 now. Soda goes with 29.7, a couple of attempts off them. So Handpap Kelly not getting the best, not managing to match their teammate, 1.1 seconds off of them. We've got a couple other drivers now coming up to the line to start and finish flying laps. The two Ferraris going P3 and P4 just behind behind the McLaren even as Joseph I believe was on an intermediate lap, so we'll just gloss over that one because we want to see the actual laps. Gary currently on a lap in the mystery machine. Coming up to the line, where does Gary Gator put himself? 28.8, 6/10 clear of Shoot Fizzle. Now, in my opinion, that is a championship level contention lap, if I say, because you've now just jumped the championship leader by 6/10 of a second. However, they were on the medium compound of tyres. JPS 29.0 puts himself 2/10 behind Gary, but it is looking good for the Sauber.
It is looking very good, but there is a big tyre delta here. It's much bigger than you think it is, and I'll tell you what, Shoot and JPS to put themselves in those positions is very good, especially at this point in the session because there is a lot of track evolution here and the track will get a lot faster.
So with that in mind, we've got someone who is currently on a lap. We've got Rose Speed Queen, who's just started the lap, and Ripsy Cola, who is halfway round their lap, currently in sector 2. Where does the Williams want to put themselves? They've done the hard bit of the main S's, which is always absolutely difficult, but it is not over yet. To say the rest of the track is easy is an understatement. You've got to make sure you're as close to these walls as possible to maximise your lap time. Get as close to the chicane, which is the fastest of the chicanes on the circuit. You can run wide there, but they Williams almost ran a bit too wide because now we know into sector 3 that would have cost them a little bit of speed coming on the exit up towards this final breaking point of the lap, into the final breaking point, into the final corner. Where does the Williams put themselves? Gets that done nicely. There's a yellow flag. I believe that is for their the other Sauber of Camilli, as Ripsicola goes a 29.8, exactly a second off of what Gary's done. It is going to get it's going to get closer, but these drivers need to find their feet and find their feet fast.
I reckon that was probably a used lap for Ripsicola there. It'd have been a bit of a waste to put new tyres on for that run, but well, we might find out later, we might not. But I'm sure we'll see them out for another run a bit later in the session.
Yes, so now we've got Speed Queen, who's coming up to the line, but is on the intermediates and sets a 34.6. I'm interested in why these drivers decide to go on the intermediates instead of a set of mediums, because the mediums aren't really up to quality standard, but they are certainly good for if you want to get a banker in, certainly better than the intermediates. So I'm wondering what's the case, because we always get because the strategy here is quite a simple one stop. So I'm quite surprised.
Yeah, I can't understand this at all. You know, there's 15 drivers here. We've got a full Q2. I just can't understand why they would do this.
Unless there's some secret logic behind it, I'm not sure. But we will continue on. Someone who's not on the intermediate, someone who's quite literally on the softest compound of tyre, the Haas of Marchmeister, going through the first chicane. We'll go on board with him for the rest of the lap, going down towards the second chicane now, as it is now one of the hardest parts of the canal. You just got to keep concentration and you get a bit of tunnel vision through these walls and through this section, because you've got to make sure you try and go as fast as possible. Don't go onto that curb too much, because you'll just get railed off the circuit. March managing to get themselves off of it just before then. No, we can continue on as we go through towards the hairpin, ending sector 1, apparently fastest. We'll see how that one progresses throughout the rest of the lap. Now down through towards the next, there's a lot of chicanes now, through down towards the 4th gear and into 5th. It's now just a matter of getting that pedal to the metal as we go all the way down towards the end of sector 2, and one of the most difficult chicanes in F1, because you've got to get it down to get it down a couple gears, get it turned in, all while trying to miss that inside wall and making sure you keep it all in the white lines on exit, as March does so with relative ease. And we now go up towards the hairpin and into the final corner. Gets a bit of a lock up on that front left, gets a bit of snap on the exit. However, it is going to be a timed lap that is going to go on the board, and it's a 29.936. Puts himself P7 ahead of the Ferrari of a funny wave band, and ahead behind the Williams of Ripsicola. We've got 13 drivers who have set a lap now, with David retiring from the session, Boogeyman yet to set a lap, and a couple of drivers on the intermediate tyres. So still all to play for as we go now through the last 5.5 minutes of the session.
Yep, Marchmeister didn't look overly comfortable on his lap, I'll be completely honest. It looked like a real panic steer through the bridge section, where it just looked like he was understeering, then oversteering, but not in the sense of drifting, but in the sense of turning left too much through a right-hand corner, because it was just, it looked like he went with way too much speed into the corner, but we all imagine that he's going to have another lap a bit later on.
With that in mind, and because March, this is the first time I've probably ever seen March decide to do a second run in a quality session, so that gives them all the information they need going into their second and probably final run of the session, because you need to have a little banker just to get yourself a feel for the circuit. Even if you've already had a banker before that in the previous session, you need to get yourself a feel for the circuit in that particular session, so you have a delta, so you know where you need to improve, and just get yourself comfortable heading into the final part, into the end of qualifying. We currently have an Alpine of Boogeyman on a lap going up towards the end of sector 2, 1 minute 1.155 in the first 2 sectors, up towards the final corner now. DRS as we loop round just this long left-hander. Just is not even a corner. It's just a slight inconvenience in terms of what you can see. You go into the braking point, does it quite nicely, up towards the line, use up all that last bit of ERS. Where does the Alpine put themselves? It's a 28.9 P3 for the Alpine, and that is a kind of a bit more of a statement of a lap of where their pace is, considering that they barely got through Q1. We currently have a load of drivers going out for their final runs, not feeling safe on what time they currently have. A lot of drivers having done inters runs as well, so we expect the likes of Speed Queen, Joseph, and a couple more to make improvements. Gary is the next driver who currently on a lap, currently 2 tenths up on what they already do. Even our current P1 driver is going through onto trying to make an improvement of some description up towards the hairpin now into the braking point. Where does the Sauber put themselves as we go? The ERS to the line, and Sauber goes even faster with a 28.531. Does that cement their P1 in qualifying? We'll have to let the session continue. We currently have Rupsicola, who will be the next driver to set a lap time, I do believe, as we go through the... I believe it is. No, it might be a McLaren. Yeah, so it will be Rupsicola, who's coming through the hairpin now as we go through sector 2. It's a bit of banking there as well, so it does benefit the driver in terms of speed. The amount of speed they can take through that corner, it's very sweeping. It's a bit like a variation of spoon curve, but just a bit more rounded in terms of its complexity. We now go down towards the final sector where Williams looks to make as much improvement as possible, goes very deep, but just keeps it in the circuit. May not have optimised that line, but certainly a little bit better than what they've done in their previous lap. Where does the Williams put themselves as we go towards the hairpin for the final time in this session? Can the Williams get up there with their rivals, or will it be a middle of the road position up towards the line at 29.4, puts himself P5 but 9 tenths off of Gary, and that is not where you want to be. This guy Neo going even faster with a P5. We currently have a couple more drivers on laps with a funny wave band on an outlap, so it will be Quick Melee who will be the next driver, unless it's Joseph. Yeah, no, it's quick. It'll be Quick Melee who is the next driver to set a lap time. We go down towards the final sector, and they've invalidated, so that is the unfortunate moment for the Sauber. Unless they have extra ERS, that is their session done. They have a Mercedes behind them though of JPS, who's currently on a lap. They might want to get out the way unless they're going to give them the tow. As we go down towards the line, Mercedes will get a tow. The Sauber to the line and will start their final flying run. P2 for JPS, 28.5, only 200ths off Gary, and they have certainly turned up in the last couple of races in qualifying.
Yeah, sorry, I have now returned.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes, so what have I missed? Gary's on pole still. Well, not pole, but he's on top.
P1.
JPS and Shoot Fizzle, were they on laps? Oh, it looks like Shoot Fizzle's on halfway around their lap.
JPS is
Shoot
just...
Fizzle's
really
going for it.
Shoot on a lap. Unfortunately for the Haas of Joseph, they are out the session and will be at least P12, maybe P13 if Speed Queen, or P14 if Speed Queen and Quick Melee can improve upon their times. You are now into the final minutes of qualifying. Session has ended. We are going to go down towards the chicane and exiting into sector 3. Where does the Aston Martin go? Because they will want to get ahead of Gary and JPS in this session to assert their dominance into the hairpin now. Kept it nice and tidy. We're going to have Speed Queen do a lap at the end as well. Speed Queen goes to the top, goes 28.5, a couple hundreds behind them. A 28.2 by Shoot Fizzle puts them on top by a couple tenths of a margin. And now we have a couple more drivers who are yet to set a lap time. Hamlap Kelly will be out of this session. Funny Wave Band will go to the line and set their final run. And it will be a P9, put Soda down to 10th. And I think they are just on the cusp and safe. Because
Hamlap Kelly's out.
Yeah, Hamlap Kelly's out. So
He's pulled out the lap.
So Soda is just through. With that in mind, you got Marchmeister, who unfortunately did not get through. So Hamlap Kelly, Joseph Black, Quick Millie, and David all out the session with Soda, just scraping through. But Shoot Fizzle gets to the top of the timesheet with a 28.2 at the end of Q2. It is a good couple tenth margin that will start to make people question whether they can top the Aston Martin.
Yeah, I said to you there's going to be a big tyre delta towards the end, didn't I? And definitely track evolution. So it just shows that for Q3, it's going to be a case of who can put the last lap in and have the best tyres for it.
Yes, certainly. So now we've got just 10 drivers left to get their lap through. And we'll just be a brief moment while everything gets back underway. Will be 30 seconds. Don't miss a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the top 10, and we've got top 10 shootout. We've got a number of drivers going out for their flying runs. Shoot Fizzle is the first on the track as we go down towards the final 12-minute runs. We now have Shoot, who was a couple temps clear ahead of the rest of the field at the end of the session. However, with drivers being on different sets of tyres, we will see how they manage when they get onto a final new set run at the end of Q3. But everyone will need to set some sort of form of banker now to get a rough idea of where they not just need to improve it, but also where they are in the pecking order. The Aston Martin of Shoot going round the final corner, and we will start his flying wrap. Stig, you want to take this one?
Sorry, who's for?
Shoot Fizzle.
Sorry, Shoot Fizzle. Right, let me jump on board with Shoot Fizzle. Coming down into turn one, a heavy braking zone. Into turn one, very acute a corner here, and then a sharp left again. Got to be very patient on the throttle, because otherwise that rear end's going to flick around like it nearly did then. And then we've got a really tight twist into turn three here. Nicely done there from Shoot Fizzle, hugging the barrier as much as you could. That's a little bit wide on the first turn in there. Going way too wide on the third apex there, and actually skidding over the curb. It might be one that he pulls out of, but actually no, it looks like he's still going at it. Is he pulled out? I'm not entirely sure. This isn't going to be a representative lap regardless, so it might be worth jumping on with someone else.
Yeah, we're going to have Soda, who is currently on a lap, going down towards the hairpin, and is aiming to get themselves up the order. Almost went out at the end of the session due to not being able to get a final run in. As we see the McLaren try and get onto up there so they can set themselves up potentially for a second podium of the season, as we now go through towards the end of sector 3, where does the McLaren put themselves at 1 minute 1.4 in the first 2 sectors as they try and hook up the final one. Now it is just a dash around this long DRS curve, and then we get towards the final braking zone of the lap. Very difficult to get right though, because you need to make sure you nail the braking, the turning and the acceleration. Make sure there's nothing wrong with that. 34.2 from Shoot, certainly not representative of what they can do. At 29.1 by Soda, followed up by 28.9 by Burry, who takes the fastest time. We've got a couple more drivers now coming up to the line into the hairpin. Comes Rupsi Cola. Can the Williams make their way and make their name up the order and to the top spots? A 29.5 puts himself in P3. This guy now have a 30.0. We're going to have Gary Gator, who is on an invalidated lap, will look to unfortunately not be able to set a legal one and will have to back out. JPS 28.3 from the Mercedes. We've now got a Boogeyman, who is looking to try and get themselves into that top end echelon of the field. 29.0 puts himself P3, but 7 tenths off of the Mercedes. With a old tyre still being in play, it could be anything like that, causing them. 28.4 for Speed Queen, who didn't use as many sets of softs in the sessions prior, so is looking maybe to have a couple new sets of softs for this final part of qualifying.
I mean, if they have got a couple of sets of softs, that's going to be really beneficial to them, because it just means if there's a slight mistake, it doesn't really matter, because they can go again later on and better tyres on a better track.
That means as well they have more like certainty on what the track grip is, because they've used a newer set of softs compared to everyone else, whose grip will be struggling a little bit more on those older sets. Considering how long the circuit is as well, it is quite difficult to get right sometimes. We just have Gary, who hasn't set a time. Funny Wave Band moved to P7 with a 29.6 for their lap. So it's just Gary who hasn't set a lap, and that is quite crucial at this point. If you think about it as well, you've got to if you don't have a lap banker in, that's going to make you really struggle, and that Sauber has damaged no less, so that is going to dent the confidence of the mystery machine.
Yeah, well, exactly what you've already said there, because if you don't have a banker, it just puts way too much pressure on you for the last few minutes of the session, and it just makes you more likely to make a mistake then.
Yes, so now it is just a matter of, does Gary have the capability of just making sure it is a one and done lap without any sort of delta, or is it going to be the opportunity for the Sauber to drop down the field?
Well, put it this way, Shoot Fizzle's also had a shocker, so I wouldn't necessarily. I think they're both in trouble.
Yeah, so I'll have to see how they both do. Speed Queen up there as well. JPS, who's had quite, in the last couple of races, qualifying, so has looked very strong, a lot stronger than what they had over the start of the season. So with that in mind, do you think that maybe the Mercedes has been working a bit more on their quality pace, because their race pace has always looked to be there or thereabouts?
JPS has seemed this season to have tracks that they really excel at, and tracks that they really not struggle, but they just fall a little bit behind the leaders at. We noticed it, I think it was something like Australia, they were really strong. We've noticed it at Bahrain, they kind of came back as well. And here it looks like they're really strong in their quali pace. Yet to see what their race pace is like, but I think it's just a case of track specific there.
Oh,
I can't. Where is JPS in the standings at the moment?
they are currently, I believe, P5 in the standings. So it's just
Okay.
yeah,
How many
P5.
points off is that?
30, 40, 54 points.
Okay. Is yeah,
So
there or thereabouts. They're roughly around Rupsi Cola, right? Am I right in thinking?
yeah, I mean it's quite they are right around that group really, where they're just a
Hmm.
little bit of shoot fizzle really.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite close, and these races will JPS will definitely be looking to see what they can maximise from these, especially if they're feeling quite confident.
Well, what I noticed as well is that JPS's pace tended to be linked to circuits in this specific region. Abu Dhabi, that JPS was got a sprint win there, and then in Bahrain looked very quick there. So it seems to be that they like these kind of this sort of track condition more or less.
Night races.
Night races, yeah, night races.
Maybe JPS is nocturnal.
Maybe. I mean, we'll have to ask him if he wins here tonight. So, with everyone just remaining in the pits, we've got a couple minutes left of the session, just under 3 minutes to go. When does everyone come out? It's currently JPS with a 28.3, head of Speed Queen with a 28.4. A bit of a gap to everyone else, but with everyone probably going on to a final new set of softs, who will go and take Pearl. Soda will become our first driver out on the circuit and kind of pulls the pin for every single other driver to roll out the garage. Behind them, Shoot Fizzle, and then the rest of the field remains in the pit lane. These two deciding they don't want to play mind games of trying to get the last bit of track evolution. They just get out, get a bit of clean air, and get on with it, I guess.
It's going to get very busy on track. You can see Gary and JPS are right behind each other in the pit lane, and Speed Queen not very far behind at all. But this could be quite a good gameplay from someone like Soda. This is something that has been very close to our private co-op career, Callisto. Could Soda now do a double outlap and get that better track condition?
Well, they're going to have to get on with it because at the moment it's only with a minute and 28-second lap time being the region. They've only got really 18 seconds to really get. They're not going to get that at all. They're unfortunately a little bit too far off of that one, but they've left themselves a little bit of a clean air here though, because they've got themselves a little bit of track position. They haven't got anyone who's around them, so it's kind of just giving them the opportunity to get their optimised outlap, which is the crucial thing. So.
Yeah, after saying that, I do see that I'm way out with my estimations there. I thought we had another minute. But yeah, the complete clean air now is absolutely what Soda wants. They are way ahead of all the other drivers, and the other drivers will be completely on the opposite side of the track. So if there is an issue, they will be well gone.
Yeah, so we've now got Soda going around for their final runs. We're going to stick on board with the McLaren going into the first chicane, looking to try and get themselves ahead of their group. Had a little bit of an error in the second part of that chicane. Did not look quite so comfortable as they did in that first. Into turn 3 now, cuts into the inside. Just great, missing the wall and continuing throughout the rest of the lap. Trying to get it through, done with pinpoint accuracy. It gets onto that curve, just nailing that line as we now go to the end of sector 1 at 32.6 at a 500s up in the first sector on their own personal best. As we now run through that long banked hairpin, they do continue to take good lines. They're just maximising every part of the lap at the moment, trying to make sure they're as close to that wall as possible in as many areas where they do gain time. Now it's just a flat out run towards the end of the start of sector 3. They just got to make sure you minimise the amount of meters you run into that chicane. Now looked a bit tentative on turning, however continues on nicely, remaining in a valid time as well, which is the most crucial things at a time like this. You cannot overstep the boundaries because it could be the difference between you getting pole and you getting P9/10. Up towards the line now, where does the McLaren go 28.6, puts himself P3. We're now going to go to Shoot Bizzle, who goes up to the line, and where they go 28.0, goes 6 tenths clear of Soda and 3 tenths clear of JPS, who is currently having a little battle
APS
there.
hit the wall.
JPS has hit the wall. They're now kind of almost blocking the Sauber of Gary, who was close enough. Gary's gone fastest, 27.8 by the Sauber, but he's now Shiro Speed Queen goes 28.2 P3 for them. We've now got a couple other drivers who are yet to set lap times. We've got Rusicola, who's invalidated, and this guy near up to the line of 29.1 for the Mercedes. Ferrari's now gone across the line, a 28.8 for Funny Wave Band, a 28.8 as well for Burl. I'm reading for capital I and L. Burl, sorry. We've got so them two are now P6 and P7, but with the Boogeyman going into the wall, frustration for the Alpine, who binned it at some point in their lap. Rupsicola has also invalidated and given themselves damage, so that will be the grid. Gary will take pole ahead of Shoot Fizzle and then Speed Queen. So that is... Gary's just been showing that he can actually, his session, that he can keep up with Shoot, and he's just done it and picked him in the dying moments of that session.
So I was watching all 3 of their laps. That was Shoot Fizzle, Gary, and JPS there. And I was a little bit concerned by Gary's strategy because he was so close behind JPS, which I think actually hindered him a little bit in sector 1, but coming into sector 3, that was an absolute blistering time because of that huge slipstream that they had.
Yeah, so now we've now got the grid set for the race to come. 25 laps. We've now got a 45-minute odd race to go. Hopefully no safety cars as well, but we've got is it 17? It's 17 drivers, isn't it? 17 drivers.
Yes.
Looking to get themselves in some points, and if not, potentially podium or a race win. It's all to play for. This is round 10, and we are just getting briefly started. We will take a break for a couple moments while everyone gets sorted, and we'll be back just in a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back and it's time for the race. We've got a 25 lap race ahead of us, and we've got a number of different tyres on our screens. We've got mediums being run by the majority of the field, but Shoot, Fizzle and Speed Queen, our championship contenders, are on the softs with the two Ferraris, and Ali on the hards, Hamlet Kelly also on the softs. So we'll have to see whether they can make any sort of gains. This is crucial though, because if the softs burn up early and they haven't protected them, it could become the most frustrating part for them later on, because Gary's just going to be able to put it away with more grip.
You say this, but there's another way we could look at this. Holy hell, Shoot, Fizzle going incredibly deep there. I thought he was going in the wall. But yeah, there's another way you can look at this. It's a street circuit, effectively, and accidents are likely to happen. It's so easy to make a mistake around here. Are Shoot, Fizzle and Speed Queen hoping for an early safety car to get on those hards nice and early and not have to pit again?
That could be a potential, because if it happens after lap 5, it's certainly possible to go to the end on the hards. So we'll have to see whether that strategy works out for them as the grid now begins to form. We have 17 drivers looking to get themselves points, podium win, whatever they are hoping for. We will see, as we got 25 laps ahead of us. This is Neo Racing League Season 4, Round 10, and we are about to get underway for the 5. Red lights are coming on now. Here we go. It is Round 10, and it's lights out and away we go for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Gary, and I can't see anything. Gary doesn't get the best of starts to Shoot, Fizzle up the inside into turn 1. Gary's trying to defend, who has the inside for turn 2, but Gary's going to have the outside line, which will give him more of a run on traction. This could be the opportunity for Shoot to get by. Shoot does get by and gets by on the softs quite cleanly. Gary's now in P2. There's a driver who's out. That's Boogeyman, who is out of the session and has left entirely, and that Alpine is just rolling along, but no safety car. We're going to continue on as we go down towards the end of sector 1. It's now Shoot leading Gary, leading Speed Queen, leading Soda, who's got ahead of JPS, Marchmeister and Rupsicola side by side, both on the mediums. Rupsicola looking to make back a couple positions, got ahead of this guy Neo off the line, gets ahead of the Haas of Marchmeister for P8, and now eyes turn back to the front.
There's an absolutely brilliant getaway there from Shoot, Fizzle. Gary just couldn't get the traction on those harder compounded tyres, and through turn 2 they just couldn't get on the power quick enough. Big slide there for Gary Gators. Coming up to the bridge section, it looks like Speed Queen's going to have a look now up the inside, coming up towards the last corner on the track, and that's a virtual safety car. That is Vakuli now out of the race.
Yeah, Vakuli, I believe, getting caught up in a bit of a squabble, and is now our second retirement of the session. The other driver's very lucky to get through if they have not got any sort of damage. I believe there's quite a couple drivers with varying levels, but we now have everything just briefly stalled. We will be able to go back underway very shortly, but a number of drivers going into the pits already, potentially with front wing changes, potentially looking to go on the hards and trying to go long and hoping for a safety car later on. We are now going to go and get on the... We're just now waiting for the VSC to end, but with 4 drivers in the pits, they will certainly reap the benefits if there isn't another safety car called later on.
There was 3 drivers there having a front wing change. It was only Quick Melly that didn't have a front wing change. I don't know what tyres they've gone on to. There's a mix of mediums and hards for those cars at the back.
So it could be beneficial to them. The top guys pretty much passing the pit lane by the time this VSC was called, so it wouldn't benefit them if they wanted to make any sort of strategy call. Drive-through penalty for Ali as we get underway. I believe David might have been caught one with one as well. Yes, they have. And now we've got the opportunity to get underway once more. Shoot Fizzle leads ahead of Speed Queen, ahead of Gary, who's now ahead of Soda as well. They're all trying to pull away from JPS, who's already a couple temps back, but they're all trying to make inroads on one another and not make the overtake. Speed Queen, Shoot Fizzle, our 2 championship leaders, will be fighting around the outside. Go Speed Queen into the final corner. Will they get them done under brakes? Not quite. Shoot Fizzle breaks a little bit later there and makes a bit of contact mid-corner. These 2 fighting all season. And now Speed Queen retakes the lead. But Shoot will have the DRS. And here comes Gary, who's going to make it not just trying to attack Shoot Fizzle, but he's going to have to back out as Speed Queen blocked his line. Shoot Fizzle into P1 though. Getting an absolute masterclass of DRS to come back at Speed Queen and getting into that race lead. But the top 5 have made a quite significant getaway from the rest of the field.
Yeah, Gary was in that position there where he just couldn't do anything because he had 2 cars in front of him and then both using up the width of the racetrack. So really frustrating situation there for the Sauber.
The Sauber looking to defend though, because here comes Soda. Soda had a little look there into the final podium spot, but remains behind them. If you're Shoot now, you're looking to try and pull away from Speed Queen, but there's not much you can do. The slipstream, the DRS effect is quite powerful on this game, as we now aim to go through the end of Sector 2 now. DRS will be for the Red Bull. The Aston Martin looks to try and maintain as much of a gap as possible before going into that chicane and going on to a second DRS straight, but the Aston Martin throws his car into that chicane, maximising every ounce of that circuit. And the Aston Martin though continuing on as here comes the Red Bull, who looks to try to the inside this time but can't do much. Goes to the outside after Shoot defends, and this time Shoot comes out the hairpin in front. But can Speed Queen now do what Shoot did on the previous lap and get by? Here comes Speed Queen as they go to the outside. Shoot, can they defend? Soda is looking to the inside of Gary. Gary and Soda up the inside of Gary, trying to make a move stick. Gary and Soda do collide, and that's allowed JPS to try and make a move into the second chicane and around the outside. Is there any opportunity for Soda to defend? Yes, they do. Soda remains in P4 with excellent defending from JPS on JPS as they after a failed attack on Gary.
The critical thing here for Gary is just hold on to these 2 in front because he's on those older tyres, but they're going to last so much longer. And Soda there looking for another move up the inside of the Sauber. That was a little bit brave there. Want to go easy on some of those dives there.
Yes, certainly do, because you've got a long race ahead of you, and with this you don't want to be losing out. There's a bit of a slap there for Soda, and they've got a 3-second time penalty already after having multiple warnings, and that is very unfortunate from McLaren. You do not want to be doing that too often as well. Speed Queen looks to try and pull away now from the rest of this group. Has currently the biggest gap we've seen so far from the leader, Shoot Fizzle, trying to pull away from Gary as well, and now they've got a bit of clean air, but Gary is trying to hold on now because Soda with that 3 seconds has given a little bit of breathing out. As long as JPS, who is now making a move, doesn't quite get by, Soda backs out, decides to let that to fight another day as the McLaren falls to the back of this train.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be too worried about that now though. He just needs to pick his battles and just wait a little bit further on into the race. JPS having a little bit of a look up the inside of the mystery machine, but nothing comes of that one there. All these drivers look like they're just managing a little bit just to gain up a little bit ERS and fight for the next lap, it seems.
Yeah, you can't really just push at times on this track if you're the ones in front, particularly if you're the leader, because you've got to have a bit of ERS, well, a lot of ERS ready for the basically after this hairpin, as Joseph has retired from the session at the chicane. I wonder if they have caught themselves at on the inside curb. These drivers have got to be careful if they come through. Yes, they have, and that's unfortunate for the Haas, who look to make their debut and unfortunately is out of this race on lap 5. We're going to continue on though. No safety car or VSC deployed for this one. Speed Queen looks to try and defend from Shoot Fizzle. The gap is much closer than it was the time before, but it also is closer between Gary and the Aston Martin as Gary tries to mount an attack on Shoot. Shoot looks to mount an attack on Speed Queen. Gary just not able to do much at this point unless he's able to make the opportunity now. Shoot was going to wait. It's now going to be 3 wide into the hairpin as now Shoot decides to back out. Gary's around the outside of Speed Queen. Gary to retake the lead. Can Gary manage to defend from Speed Queen? They're not going to have DRS. This is going to be helping Speed Queen back by, but Shoot's not able to do anything as these two have made a rolling roadblock into the first chicane. Gary is looking to defend. He unfortunately gives the speed move the position back to Speed Queen, but moves in front of Shoot Fizzle, and that is everything you need to do for if you're the Sauber right now, because you are looking at this point to help Speed Queen to the title, because as we said about at the start of the stream, alliance is forming. Gary has aligned quite well with Speed Queen.
That's a really brave move there from Gary, go around the outside of 2 cars. But here we go, it's Shoot Fizzle going up the inside now into the hairpin, and it looks like that move is going to be done pretty easily. But Gary's going to have a comeback now. Is he going to try and hang this around the outside of the chicane? No, he's not. He's going to fall back into line.
Yeah, the Sauber trying to make himself a nuisance a bit. Unfortunately for the Red Bull, they haven't quite broken DRS, and this is going to help the Aston Martin Shoot Fizzle back into this hunt. Gary continuing to try and make some sort of nuisance of themselves as we now go into the chicane. However, that Aston Martin is now starting to pull away with that DRS and trying to close in on that Red Bull, and this is just going to continue like this for the whole race, where they're just going to be trying to pull out that DRS. That's a bit of a late move from Shoot Fizzle, and that's a bit of a late dive from Gary, and that has almost ended in an absolute calamity for both of them. They're both trying to fight each other hard. Here comes Gary on the mediums, trying to attack Shoot Fizzle on the softs. Here as the mystery machine up the inside into the first chicane, tries to push Shoot as wide as possible, but there's not much they can do as Shoot manages to defend that excellently.
Yeah, it was a day late and $1 short for Shoot Fizzle's defence there into the last corner. That was a little bit out of line, and I think that should be looked at a bit later on because there was no room and that was way too late.
Yeah, so now thank you, Martin Brundle, because we now have Shoot Fizzle, Gary Gator trying to make inroads back on Speed Queen with JPS and Soda in tow. They're looking, those two have been sitting there relatively quietly over the last couple laps, but they've just been watching as things unfold, maybe looking to take advantage of anything that happens in front. But if they're sitting that close, they've got to be careful if there is any sort of incident. As we now go down towards the end of Sector 3, Gary looks to try and make a move on Shoot Fizzle, looks to make themselves even more of a nuisance, decides not to do it there, but Shoot, absolute confidence, goes through there as we go through the chicane, and now puts himself right back on the back of Speed Queen, but Gary is even closer to the outside, goes to Sauber, switches to the inside as the Aston Martin looks to defend, as Shoot swoops around in defence and now is looking to make a mount an attack. Here comes the Aston Martin on the Red Bull. Can they make any sort of move stick as we go to never mind, it's going to be the Aston Martin who's going to go 3 wide there into the chicane, and Gary almost taking out Speed Queen in the process. A bit late there from him, but Shoot Fizzle retakes the lead. JPS look to try and attack Gary as well, and I don't know whether Gary meant to make that dive bomb, but they were trying to break late to outbreak JPS, and in all that they've managed to help Shoot Fizzle into the lead.
It looked a little bit panicked, to be honest. I think that was a bit of a lock-up. I don't think they expect the 2 in front to break so early as what they did. Soda here's doing well to hold on, but it does look like they're struggling a little bit, and it looks quite edgy, that McLaren. So hopefully they're not going to have any more issues. Ali now with a 3-second penalty. JPS just holding out for any kind of opportunity here. These 5 are pretty close.
Yeah, these 5 are just going to continue like this as much of the race as possible. If you're the one leading, though, you don't want to be continuing for as much of the race as possible. You want to be pulling away as quickly as possible. Gary goes a bit wide there, and that's damage for the Sauber. And that is it's not damage for the Sauber, it's damage for the Mercedes. That has been costly for JPS, potentially losing and probably, hopefully, not significant amount of downfalls. Gary made a mistake. They've dropped down to 5th. Shoot Fizzle is now defending defend from Speed Queen, who's got ahead of the hairpin, but it's going to be Shoot, who has the DRS down towards turn 1. Is there an opportunity for the Aston Martin to make their way back by into the first chicane? Shoot attacks, Speed Queen defends to the has the inside for the Red Bull, has the outside for Shoot in the second part, but Speed Queen managing to just about defend what is now their lead.
The damage on the front of that Mercedes is going to be so costly around some of these critical corners. Exactly this in Sector 1 and around the start of Sector 2, that big long hairpin. This is going to be quite costly, and we could see the lap time start falling away.
Not just that their tyres will become start to be hurt by that by having that front wing damage as they're trying to push them that little bit more. And not just that, they're just going to be trying to push even more, and they're just going to lose time because they're now having to push with drivers with a full front wing. Well, they have that damage, and even a little bit of damage can affect the driver in any way, shape or form. It can cause the car to become understeery, oversteery, or just unstable in comparison to what it was a bit wide there from the Mercedes, and that might potentially be a warning. Speed Queen will now try to defend from Shoot Fizzle as we go up to the hairpin for the 9th time as we go in to the final corner. Can the Aston Martin make another assault on Speed Queen, or will Shoot have to remain behind? It is now DRS for the Aston Martin, who looks to the inside as the Red Bull has used up as much air as they possibly can. Shoot outbrakes the Red Bull and makes it into P1. JPS has a little look, but unfortunately for them, could not do much about the Red Bull in themselves as they have to back out of that one. But Shoot's gone wide. Shoot's out of the race. Shoot is out of the race, and that is absolutely terrible for the Aston Martin. One clip of the wall. We saw that a few laps ago from Joseph, and that is him out.
That is absolutely shocking scenes there. I was just going through the race director to try and get some information about track limits, and Shoot Fizzle was going to be the one that has more track limits violations than other drivers. But that is huge news for this today.
That just catastrophic for the Aston Martin, who leads the standings. Frustration fields the Aston Martin, who was clearly pushing, because you said about him having more warnings. He was pushing and he overstepped the boundary, and his race is done on lap 10 of 25. Speed Queen will now lead the way as the safety car has been deployed. We see JPS in P2, Soda P3, Gary 4th, March will now move up to P5, and Rupsikoda in 6th. Those guys back there, even though they've been having an almighty battle, we've had an almighty battle up front, so everyone will now close back in. But I think it's time that people move on to the hard compound of tyres.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much other choice now. I mean, if you're on the hards already, you can take the mediums, but you really want the hards. And this is a good opportunity for JPS to get a nice new front wing.
Yeah, certainly, because they will not, even though they'll lose a couple of positions to the McLaren and the Sauber. The Sauber of Gary actually is damaged as well, I've noticed. So they will lose position to the McLaren. Actually, do they not? Because JBS has come out ahead. Maybe not fixed their front wing. Maybe not feeling it's as bad as what they once thought. But so no, they've kept their front wing the same. Maybe it is not affecting them too badly. However, it is now left with Gary, who had a complete change of front wing, who is now down in 6th.
I've just had a look back at the replay, and it looks like what's his name? Shoot Fizzle, that's the one. Came back onto the track and possibly collided with Constant Soda and Gary Gator. So I don't know if they've potentially got more damage on their cars. I don't know if they've done any front wing changes. So it looks like Soda didn't change their wing and Gary did change their wing. So hopefully there's no other damage on those two cars there. I think JPS didn't change their wing, interestingly enough. So they're obviously feeling like they're not suffering as much with that damage that they earned earlier on in the race.
We'll have to see whether that has an effect. But now the gap's closed back up after a lap one where everyone, well, the top 5 just scampered away. the three in front at the front now, who was a part of that five with Gary down in sixth and shoot out, will now have to try and do that again, but in a rolling start condition. So with so now we have a couple people. Let's have a look at the positions gained, shall we? Because Ali has gained 9 positions, 6 gained for March and Quick Melee, and then a couple more positions gained for Soda, JPS, and Speed Queen, with Handflap Kelly also gaining a position. Gary's lost 5 due to that front wing change, with the 2 Ferraris both losing 3, as well as this guy Neo losing 3 as well. Not a single driver though, with like in the same position they started in. So our retirement so far: Shoot Fizzle, David, Joseph Black, Bekuli, and the Boogeyman. As we now end lap 11 of 12. It'll be basically a 25% race once we get going once more. As we will be going at the end of this lap. A couple drivers with penalties. Ali, Quick Melly, and Soda being the 3 drivers with them. Everyone else has kept it clean, but there might be some warnings in there to potentially put some penalties up later in the race.
Yeah, definitely are a few penalties. JPS definitely on 1, I think. I think Speed Queen and Gary are free of penalties. Soda is getting close to a 2nd penalty, I believe. So, of those cars that were in the front 5, now front 4, it looks like Soda's probably closest to a penalty. I don't know about Reepsicola and Marshmeister, which have obviously jumped in front of Gary Gator here. Gary's going to be a little bit annoyed by that.
I guess because considering how much damage he had, he didn't really have the choice. Like
he had to change. Yeah,
he had to change. Like unlike JPS and Soda, who have a little bit and they hope they can get to the end, but that would certainly be affecting them, considering that it is a high. Is a difficult circuit to get around, considering there is the walls here, there, and everywhere, and you don't want to be going have any sort of understeer, because you could just end up in the wall, and you can't have any inconsistencies in your car.
No, not at all. And especially with the track like this, you're going so fast through the corners. Big one coming up to that bridge at the start of sector 3. We've noticed it with JPS on his first lap with that damage. It washed out so wide and rode over that curb. That's the same kind of thing that caused Gary to slow up through there and actually give JPS the damage. Safety car is going to be in this lap, and it's going to be with Calisto to take you off of this one.
So with that in mind, Speed Queen will lead the pack away. Certainly not unfamiliar with this one as we go around for the end of the 12th tour and start 13th. We've got 13 laps to go of this race as we end the safety car period. But when does the Red Bull decide to go? We've got the timing tower in the way, so you can't see much, but Speed Queen's still waiting to go. When do they go? They go now. JPS losing a bit of ground. Soda was on it though, as Soda looks to try and make their way by the Mercedes into turn 1. Try and get it done quickly and hope they can pull away the Mercedes of JPS, managing to cover him off quite nicely as we go into the first chicane. It remains all stagnant, but Burl gets ahead of Quick Millie. Same so does. There's a little bit of contact there as 2 Ferraris and the Sauber who've dropped by. Soda's got another 3 second, and that is not what you want if you want if you're the McLaren, as we go into another safety car period.
What caused this safety car?
I think Quick Millie, Funny Waveman, and Burl all got caught up in an instant.
Ah, yes, I see. There's all 3 of them have big wing damage. It looked like through there, Soda went incredibly wide, which caused them to get that penalty that I said was on its way. So they're going to be kicking themselves a little bit with that one, because now with 6 seconds time penalties.
Yeah, and that will certainly be affecting them later on in the race, considering there's drivers without even a single warning, and there's drivers with no penalty at this time. So they're going to have to refocus quick, because they're only going to have a handful of laps left by the time we get to the safety car restart. But with the Ferraris and the Sauber, luckily they're still all in the race, because I've seen occasions where they've had people who've had collisions there and be completely taken out, so they're lucky to get away with that one. and we now have to reform the grid, which is pretty much reformed anyway, to go again. So it'll be about another 2 laps. I'm interested here because as well with Shoot Fizzle being out that and
Speed Queen coming in. Speed Queen's in the pits.
That is a move that I was not expecting. He's gone.
Another set of mediums. I'm confused. I don't know why Speed Queen would come into the pits then, because they're now at the back. Bar 3 cars, Speed Queen is at the back of the field. That is a strange decision to make, don't you think?
I'm just as baffled as well. I'm speechless. I'm not sure. I was not expecting that Red Bull to be coming into this pit because now
there was no damage on the car, and Speed Queen had a great start that time, leading the safety car field away. I'm a little bit confused there. P8 now for the Red Bull.
The only thing I can think of is that they weren't comfortable with their mediums going to the end.
Maybe.
But they safety car would have helped them.
3 laps. 3 or 4 laps, isn't it?
But the safety car would help them unless they just want a bit of fun. But at this stage in a championship, when your championship rival's out of the race, you don't really want to be losing points here.
It's not really the track to try and get through the field either. There's so much. We've seen it already, especially in that restart alone. As soon as the safety car pulls away, these drivers, so much anger, they just want to try and get past each other, and there's so much impatience that the adrenaline really flows, and you never know what's going to happen.
I'm just... unless they feel like they're going to be able to fly through this field with the mediums on, but even then, it's so difficult to overtake sometimes that, even though it's easy to overtake down a straight, you're not going to be able to make every single overtake in the corners, and you're going to end up in a bit of a DRS train at times. So I'm interested to why the Red Bull's done that.
The only thing is, I suppose, we've got 3 laps on the hard tyres for the cars at the front, for example, and Speed Queen's now got fresher mediums, but that's going to offset. But 3 laps isn't that big in terms of those tyres.
But as well, apart from 3 corners, that's been under safety car.
Yeah, exactly. So it's effectively
new tyres.
So I've given something to us to talk about, I guess. But so thanks for that, Speed Queen, and we've got something nice to watch now.
And it's given us something. It's given us a talking point to go over for this safety car period. But it's something. It's so baffling. If in 100% race, if we're at a halfway point of 100% race and you're in this situation, it's a little bit more viable. You've got a lot more time to go for it. But you've got 10 laps maybe, 10 laps to make 8 overtakes against drivers who aren't slow. These guys are just very quick. It's not. It's not the easiest of tasks, no matter what tyre you're on.
Well, safety car leads us around again. And yeah, I think we're both a bit stumped there. Let's try and look towards the front now. So we've got JPS obviously now leading the safety car round. I've got Constant Soda, who's been in the front pack from the start. Rupsi Cola is going to be rubbing their hands together with this one. They've really fallen into a great position.
Yeah, it's really helped. JPS and Rupsi Cola here, because Soda that 6 second is going to really struggle. What is it? It looked like Speed Queen slowed up there, but we're going to go to safety car come in this lap then. With that in mind, we've got 12 drivers who are still in this race. 5 retirements, the biggest of all being Shoot Fizzle, who was our last retirement. So we'll now hopefully go to the end of this race. JPS will lead the way ahead of Soda, ahead of Rupsi Cola, ahead of Mark Meister and Gary Gator. That's our top 5. Gary's got 10 seconds
time penalty
for collision with March.
Wow.
That is crucial. That is massive for the Sauber. We've got to get underway now. JPS leads the way, head of Soda, who looks to try and get by as quickly as possible because they want to get that 6-second gap. But up the inside goes to McLaren into turn 1. Can they make anything of it? They're going to push the Mercedes as wide as possible. There's not going to be much they can do. The Williams now of Ripsicola is trying to make an assault on the McLaren as we go into the second chicane. But there's nothing that the Williams could do at this time. I think the Williams even has damage, do they? I'm not even entirely sure themselves.
Yes, they do. They do.
They all
Left-hand
three of them.
side.
So all three of them have left-hand side front wing damage. Like, oh my god, that's Ripsicola, who's off the circuit. Here comes the McLaren of Soda as they go up the inside into the hairpin. Is this going to be the move done? They're going to slightly tap JPS as they got bang wheels, but that's going to be McLaren into the lead of the race. Can Soda hold on to it now? But they've got to pull away. They've got 6-second time penalty to deal with, and that is going to right now send them to the back of, well, almost to the back of the field. And this is now game on for the McLaren, but JPS has now got Ripsicola for company, who's not too far behind.
The only saving grace for Soda this time is there's going to be no DRS, but I don't think that's going to matter. Look how racy that Mercedes is looking.
They're going to need, if I'm Soda, you're going to need to work with JPS a little bit because you cannot be absolutely fighting this one. If you're JPS, you can really use Soda as a bit of a DRS scapegoat to try and help pull away if the drivers behind start fighting. Handflap Kelly, who kind of out of nowhere started fighting. They're fighting Gary Gator. They're going to go to your inside of the Sauber, trying to make a move stick there as up the inside goes Handflap Kelly, and actually they're going to make a bit of contact with the Williams, and that's now cost the Aston Martin a bit of their front wing as Gary is trying to make a move on Ripsicola, and this has just helped JPS a bit because now he's got 2 drivers around him with time penalties, while that Mercedes is penalty free, and this is really at the moment working in Jay's favour.
Well, don't even just think about Jay. Think about Speed Queen. Speed Queen's in P5.
Oh my god, Speed Queen absolutely coming through the field. The Red Bull, don't count them out yet. The driver without damage, the only driver in this top 6 without damage. They're trying to fight the Aston Martin Handflap Kelly, who's trying to keep their teammates' title lead. Certainly a lie, they go a bit wide in protest, and they jump back ahead of the Red Bull, who now has to be let through because of an illegal overtake. The Red Bull is now up to P5. It's going to be a chance for Marchmeister to make a move, but Soda and JPS are also fighting, so we've got to keep an eye on that one as well. March up to P6, Handflap Kelly down to P7. Ripsicola is trying to fight Gary Gator as Gary is trying to make a move left, right, but he can't do anything at this stage. As here comes JPS, who tries to make a move up the inside. Jay has to stick it back down in P2. Gary into P3. Speed Queen into P5. Remains in P5 as we now see drivers behind fighting. Here comes JPS, who looks to try and retake the lead potentially. He sticks behind, uses maybe Soda as a DRS scapegoat here, but it's a different effect to what I meant earlier, and just using him to try and stay ahead of the rest of the field. And here's Speed Queen up to P4, and this is all kicking off in the second half of the race.
This is absolutely crazy. The safety car's really shaking things up here, and all of these drivers are absolutely gunning for it, going pedal to the metal and trying to keep as much pace as possible. We can have a little bit of a breather for a second. No, we can't, because Speed Queen's going to go up the inside of Gary Gator even before the hairpin and makes that move stick. Gary's going to have a look now to try and make it back at the Red Bull, but thinks the bearer of that one to stick behind.
Gary did say that he's going to help Speed Queen get this title and take it away from Shoot Fizzle, so it looked like the Sauber keeping their word and just maybe letting Speed Queen by here to try and have an assault, not entirely taking themselves out of the picture here because they want to try and get the best position for themselves, but in reality letting Speed Queen through and not fighting them does benefit them. Here comes JPS, who's trying to make a move around the outside of the McLaren for P1, gets ahead of the McLaren, and the Mercedes take the Silver Arrow, takes the lead once more, and now looks to try and use the Soda to defend from the Red Bull of Speed Queen. And so there's a bit of damage there for the Alpine. I think there might be a bit of contact with someone, but Ali continues on. It's side by side between Speed Queen and Soda. As we go into turn 1, up the inside goes all three of them. Bit of contact there. Soda made a very late lunge, but on Speed Queen and JPS, and that has ultimately cost Speed Queen as well, because both of them tried to make a way by. Soda might have a little bit more damage. JPS might have more damage. Speed Queen back down to P3. Soda remains in P2 and JPS in P1.
It looks like Gary doesn't have any damage on their car either. So Speed Queen and Gary are both in great positions here. Rubes Cola going very wide there. That's going to be a warning for the Williams for them to counteract now.
Yeah, I'm at the moment. The Williams not having the best of times, just did not seem comfortable at all with the car in qualifying, and does not look to be still comfortable in the race. We now go through sector 2 and sector 3. JPS leads the way as Soda. Now with that DRS, he's going to try and make an attack, but he's going to have to sit behind at the moment. As we go through the chicane, can JPS keep hold of his lead? He will certainly do so for the time being, as here comes Speed Queen around the outside of Soda. Soda also has DRS. This could get spicy by the hairpin, because they're both going to try and make moves on JPS. Soda up the inside. Soda getting a bit of contact with JPS. That's ultimately cost Speed Queen, who was right behind Soda and now has dropped behind Gary Gator, who looks to take P2 and maybe looks to take P1 themselves. Remember, Gary's got that 10-second time penalty, as we now see Soda dive bomb up the inside, gets another 3-second time penalty. So Soda really starting to rack them up now, and this could ultimately not just cost them one position, but maybe a whole grid slowed at this point.
Yeah, the whole field is so close now, and that's Bell out of the race. That looks like another virtual safety car is going to happen now. So everyone has now been equalised.
Yeah, we need a little bit of a break there, because at the moment the penalties starting to rack up here for a couple of drivers as well, and with everyone still so close, it is certainly on for this race. Soda will have dropped out of DRS by the time we get back underway. He's currently, actually no, never mind, he might have just slowed up in the sector, but it looked very much like he was far and far away. But JPS, Speed Queen, looking like it's going to become a 2-horse race, because Gary, with that 10-second time penalty, is going to end up quite far down the order. If we look at the gaps, everyone is covered by 6 seconds, and we now get underway for end lap 20. We're going into sector 3 now. Can JPS remain ahead of Gary? We're now going to see Gary try and make an attack on the Mercedes. Going to look to the outside. Is this the opportunity for Gary to retake the lead on track? They're going to go into the hairpin. Can JPS make a defence? Yes, they do. Actually, Gary's let Speed Queen back through. Speed Queen has a perfect opportunity now as we go down towards the first chicane. Can Speed Queen retake the lead on the medium compound tyres? They certainly do so. Gary makes their way into P2 in look to defend from Speed Queen. They both get by JPS, and look at that, and that has ended like it ended up perfect for Speed Queen. Now got a driver with 10 seconds between them, a driver who's willing to defend for them, and JPS, who's in now P3 and falling behind quite significantly.
Hamflap Kelly's out of the race, so that's going to hinder his teammate, because he can't. Oh, there, Gary's out.
Stuck Gary, Soda.
Soda's out.
What happened there?
I think that was a huge speed into the wall. I thought that was the mystery machine then.
I thought it was
a heart attack.
I'm not entirely sure what happened there, because that's a very odd place to go off.
Yeah, that was a bit strange. It looked like maybe the car just didn't turn in. Maybe, yeah. That was just straight into the wall, spearheaded it.
It's almost like it was Speed Queen a couple of races ago, where they had their entire their wheel disconnect.
Yeah, Spa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, DRS is enabled. We're back
racing now. Yeah.
Gary is right on the back of the Red Bull of Speed Queen.
So with that coming now, we're going to see Gary try and basically help Speed Queen to this P1. We've got 9 drivers left in this race. Gary, JPS will kind of try and pull away from the rest of the group behind. But with Gary, that 10-second time penalty, Gary just trying to pull away, because at the moment this is not going to help them. We're going to see Kwekmeli lose position.
Harry's got a
to Ali.
penalty.
Gary's got a penalty. Another penalty for Gary. No, you mean
Oh
Rupsi
no,
Cola?
sorry, that's his 10, yeah, sorry, it's still his 10 second.
I was going to say Rupsi Cola also got a penalty. As you said, that's a 3 second for Rupsi Cola. That will help the 3 in front for the time being. But Speed Queen looks to have this one a little bit more under control now.
Yeah, definitely seeming to be quite comfortable in that position. They were very comfortable earlier on. We might see in the next couple of laps their tyres start to fall off a little bit, because obviously they're on the softer compound to these cars that we're watching now.
Yeah, so now we're going to see the mediums begin to struggle a little bit as we go through towards sector 3. Can Speed Queen attack the make an attack and get away from that 1 second window? But JPS is going to now try and attack Gary Gator, the mystery machine, on the defence, as JPS tries to go around the outside into the hairpin. But Gary looking to defend quite well. He's going to have both of them going to have DRS, and they're both neck and neck towards the line. Will Gary drop back into P3? Yes, they do, but they will have a tow that will help them. JPS fastest lap of the race and back up into P2. This is what JPS needed, as it now have a clean fight with Speed Queen with 3 laps to go.
It'd be interesting to see at the end if this 10-second penalty gets lifted by the stewards, because we don't know the circumstances of why that was given. So we'll see in the post-race results.
Marchmeister and Rupsi Cola, they had a bit of contact there. That's given Rupsi Cola more damage, and that is really, really frustrating there for the Williams, who was at least in the top 5 position, and now is well down the order in P7 with a penalty and damage. March getting caught up in that, but it was really quite surprising to see them both go side by side into that second chicane. We see Speed Queen now has pulled a 1.1 second gap to JPS, and now it's out of that DRS window, hoping now they can try and keep that, but maybe they've used up a bit of their ERS a little bit too much too early, because Jay is trying to close in as much as possible. We see, but though, Gary trying to make an attack back on the Mercedes around the outside. Goes Gary, retakes that lead, that P2 with ease.
I think he's in DRS as well.
At the moment, so Gary will have potentially DRS. Yes, they do. Gary has DRS, and that will help for defence against JPS. And on to lap 24. This is now the Speed Queen looking like to continue that fight. We're going to see Marchmeister and this guy Neo going to go side by side into the first chicane. March defends that one from Neo. The Haas continues to remain in just outside that podium position. However, the gaps beginning to form, but nowhere near enough for Gary not to lose out quite significantly at this stage.
Yeah, it's still a long way to go though, and there's only 2 laps, so 10 seconds will still drop back a fair way if it stands.
So this will become very, very detrimental to the Sauber, who will look to try and get back into a championship fight. But at the moment, Speed Queen has done everything they needed to. A P8 to P1 that we weren't expecting to quite happen. However, with just a lap and a half to go, that Red Bull looked almightily quick. It really turned up the power and turned up the speed when it came to after Shoot Fizzle's retirement. And at the moment, a full point scoring day when Shoot Fizzle